All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about one of the best ways we can retain our guard in no-gi, which is to just stay seated for as long as possible. The problem with playing supine no-gi is because Moaz is standing over me, he has a significant mobility advantage, and especially when you start rolling with very big and strong people, even if they don't pass, they can do a good job of camping in these positions where they negate your offense and make you carry weight with your frames. So one of the things I've been doing to negate this is trying to stay seated as long as possible so that I can hand fight more effectively and then create openings either into wrestle ups or getting underneath my training partner and entering the legs. So being supine isn't necessarily a bad thing, but being supine without a connection is generally something I try to avoid because I give up way too much advantage for the top person. So how are we going to achieve this? The first thing I want to do is one, prevent Moaz from forcing me supine. And that's generally going to involve him doing things like grabbing my feet, lifting my legs above my hips, and then he can force us into a supine scenario. So I change my posture by pointing whichever hip I'm on, pointing my knee at my training partner's center line, and then taking my feet in a position where they're underneath or behind me so that when Moaz tries to intercept my feet or grab my feet, it should be difficult and my head and my hands are blocking it. The two other things I have to be worried with is Moaz outflanking me. If he gets to an angle where he can just start exposing my back, this is obviously good for him, bad for me. So whenever I see Moaz is moving to an angle, making sure that my knee points at him the whole time. And if I see that he outflanks me and he beats my knee position, heisting up to my knees and switching hips if necessary. And then the third thing we have to be concerned about is getting snapped down. So I don't want to be hunched over to such a degree that Moaz can start snapping us into front headlocks and going into all of his offense. So I always try to make sure that although my head and my shoulders are in front of my hips, I try to maintain a relatively straight posture with a hand posted on the mat. So when Moaz tries to snap me down, me posting on the mat should be difficult, and my interception of one of his hands should make it almost impossible for him to meaningfully front headlock us. All right. So whenever we can prevent Moaz from grabbing our feet and forcing us supine, generally what people are going to try to do is grab our head or post on our shoulders. And so again, if my head and shoulders come behind my hips, it becomes relatively easy for Moaz to start pushing me down, forcing a supine, getting his angles. And if Moaz can start using collar ties to achieve the same thing where he can either start pushing me or pulling me around the mat to force me into a supine situation. So once we prevent him from grabbing our feet, generally what people are going to have access to is your upper body. And this is where whenever I see shoulder posts or collar ties, using elbow ties to start holding his arms in place and making sure that I pull his elbows towards me. When Moaz tries to use this collar tie or push me over, it should be difficult. And then we can use this to start transitioning into various forms of 2-on-1s, arm drags, etc., to start exposing their legs. So what are some offensive pathways we can go into when we are seated and prevent our training partner from successfully forcing us supine? So again, if I do a good job of keeping my feet behind or underneath me in a way that prevents him from grabbing my ankles, generally this is only going to leave my upper body for Moaz to make contact with. When we see collar ties or shoulder posts, one of the things I like to do is take an elbow tie. And now, because I'm controlling Moaz's arm, it's okay for me to lean back slightly, passing it off to my opposite wrist. And now we have an elbow 2-on-1. And the two things I'm going to be looking to do is either get past my training partner's elbows or getting underneath my training partner's elbows. And both of these things will lend themselves nicely to either wrestling up or getting underneath our training partner's hips and entering the legs. So off of my training partner's collar tie or shoulder post, if I can get to an elbow tie, from here, what I like to do is tie up the opposite hand or thumb post in the elbow, heist up to my knees, and then I can knee slide underneath my training partner, getting his hands to the mat. And now from here, because I've gotten so far underneath Moaz, now it just makes sense for us to start entering single leg X or ashigrami and attacking our training partner's legs. Or what will sometimes happen is we slide underneath people and they do a good job of bringing their heels to their butt and pinching their knees in a way where it's hard for us to enter their legs. So when I see that I can't enter the legs as I heist up, we elevate him, we get his hands to the mat, This is where we can start entering pinch headlocks, shoulder clenches, and various forms of sumigation. If we want to wrestle up, again, when I see this elbow or this collar tie or shoulder post, if I can get to an elbow tie, I can then start peeling it off into an elbow 2-on-1. As I do this, I want to pass Moaz's arm across my center line, switching hips, and then we can start wrestling up into various forms of single legs or double legs or whatever their defensive reaction allows us to do.